Greetings, everybody. Billy O here with Old Cast for the Huns 5.3. That's season 5, episode 3, uh, July 28th, 2024. As always, coming to you from Palm Desert, California, where a lot of old people live. We have a special guest tonight, Huns Sevens head coach and longtime coach off and on, Ty Landry. Ty, how you doing?
I'm good, Bill. How you doing?
I'm doing good too. Um, super lazy Sunday, enjoying the Olympics. Um, Talk just a little bit about your weekend. We had the final um, TOLA tournament this weekend. The premiership's already decided. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you traveled long day up to Shreveport and back. What was the weekend this like with our TOLA side?
Yeah, look, it was a good weekend. I'd probably back up and start. It's been a long summer for the boys, and look, this is the first time I think we've been able to field a second side that's primarily played in the Premier Division all summer. So I think it's made them stronger. We've been able to move guys up and down between the squads as we get guys nationally eligible. This year it was 2 qualifiers, and we did drop one tournament from last year. We had 5 opportunities last year to qualify guys in 2 tournaments. We only had 4 this year. But by and large, that second side played in quite a few premier divisions this summer, did really well. We came into that last tournament yesterday tied with the Reds second side for total championship, and made the drive up yesterday morning. Might have had a couple guys go up a night early. Had one guy fly in from some family business he took care of. So a lot of sacrifices to get there yesterday after a long season. But the boys wanted to stay together and finish it together, and they did. We did come up a little bit short. Quins fielded 2 sides on the day, one in Tola, and it looked like one in Social. And we drew them after winning our pool out. They lost 1 pool game. We drew them second game out in the semis. Dropped to them, pretty close game, and then they played the Reds for the championship and lost and beat the Reds as well by about the same margin. So all in all, I think we stayed neck and neck with the Reds. The Quins just played spoiler on the day for us.
Well, and after a long, funky, a little bit TOLA season, because there were a lot of tournaments where they didn't have enough teams in Premier, so people were going up and down, and our boys really stepped up in that. We ended up 1 point shy of a TOLA championship. We're always right in it there with the Reds. Hats off to the Reds, and on to Nationals. Before we get into that, this episode, we've been highlighting sponsors. Robert Drummond and made a big donation towards Nationals recently, and has been a donor. Before that, a longtime player. He's the 3rd Wellborn. Just a staunch Hun. Thank you, Robert. Thank you to all the other guys so far that have donated for Nationals. You don't have to. We're a little worried on the board about donor fatigue, so we're really not making a big deal out of this. You guys have been so generous. If you want to, that's great. We're also asking people to convert their $150 one-time a year social members to the monthlies. A couple guys are doing that. So we very much appreciate you guys, but go to Greenlight Social, have a cold one, tell Drummond thank you, and drive safe. So back to, you're talking about our 2s, and quite frankly, we also sent a 3rd side to Sevens by the Sea, which is fun and just good rugby. San Antonio won that. I'm really proud of our guys. I heard rumors we had as many as 45 to 50 guys at practice this summer. A lot of energy. I hear a bunch of guys that went to the International Touch World Cup in the 30s plus are now training to keep our boys sharp. I mean, this has really been a summer of our sevens side not only continuing to elevate across our entire club, but a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of new guys, a lot of energy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, look, getting back to the numbers and just a note, we had three sides not only play in Bloodfest, but also drive up to Choctaw, a good 5.5, maybe 6 hour drive. We brought three sides up there. So that shows you the strength and of team we have. And yes, the numbers have been north of 40 the entire season. Typically, you see a drop off right after Bloodfest. You know, you have a good 5 to 6 weeks of training, getting ready for Bloodfest, and then that's our local, as you know, well, our local tournament. But we historically kind of see a drop off there. Really didn't see that this season. It stayed strong through and up into to Choctaw. Being able to get three teams on the road is something else. We even were fortunate enough to get Zenny back to guest coach because we needed extra resources on the sideline for that tournament. That was the Choctaw tournament.
Well, thanks to Zenny on a couple of levels for coaching, but he also brought us Russ Webb and convinced Russ to be a player coach with the Huns. We could talk about Russ Webb all day. You mentioned Bloodfest. You know, I'm sitting at home watching on my computer. I can plug it into my big screen TV, and the resolution on these iPhones and iPads and stuff is pretty amazing. We stomped the Blacks. I don't think they hardly even touched the ball in the first half. It was 28-0 or something like that. You could hear the boys howling up in the VIP room. I'm calling people on the phone in the VIP room and laughing. We stomped the Reds in that match. We played some other good teams too, beat them soundly. I don't know that I've ever seen, except for maybe Nationals 2 years ago, but during the regular season, I don't know if I've ever seen a better overall complete Huns performance. And we won the social division, and we were in the final of another division, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, what an incredible performance that day.
Absolutely. And it goes without saying, the guys that run that tournament, you know, longtime guys, the Doormats, Chris Hansels, the Wheezies, all of those guys behind the scenes.
All the players setting stuff up.
Yeah, yeah. It's an amazing production to manage, you know, 80 some odd teams, but then to also put in three competitive sides is quite the feat. That shows club strength.
So you've been around for a while. That is a vintage Huns polo. That's at least 2 logos ago.
I thought you were making an age joke, but okay, I got you.
Dude, I'm older than you, so you know I'm entitled, and you still got all your hair. So
not all, man.
you're doing better than I am. We both have serious neck injuries too, man. There's a lot in common, but I was just blown away. You know, one of the other things Hansel's done is that he has, over the several years now that he's run the tournament, it used to be a huge drama behind the scenes for our club. And that made it hard for the guys, I think, to play their best. Each year, there's been less drama. It's gone more smoothly. Willis was telling me it was easy for the guys to volunteer, help out. Everybody was supporting everybody. Hansel said it came off like you know, just no problems at all. Only one club complained that I will not name, Reds, but you know, I'm so proud of our club. It's not just a fundraiser, but that feels, the times I've been to it, like a rugby festival, like the old days of the Austin tournament or the Houston tournament, or when you travel to Albuquerque for their tournament. You know, they don't do that anymore because of the way 15s is run, but those gatherings of rugby really were amazing and important to my love of the game. And I think Bloodfest does that too. What do you think?
Absolutely. Look, those tournaments I think you're referring to, those were the litmus tests of how good you were in the 80s. You know, when I played, it was, and I'm sure you as well, that was how you were able to test your yourself against other teams around the country. You went to the Mardi Gras tournament, or you went, you traveled and you put your best show on for those tournaments. If you could come out on top, we didn't have the national structure that we do now. And so, yeah, those were important to grow the sport. I don't know if were you referring to Aquafest, the old sevens tournament that Huns put on, I believe?
No, I'm before that. I played from 75 to 84. You know, the in the early days, the Austin and Houston tournaments were the state championships of Texas in the early days. And the Huns won both of those, the golds, but effectively the Huns won both of those in the spring and fall of 72. And that's when Pat took his ball and left. It just was so much fun. We played the Royal Air Force one time in our opening game at the Austin tournament and lost to them by like 1 point, and then partied with those guys and stuff for 2 days. And they were crazier than their legend. But anyway, this is our Bloodfest team behind me. I know there have been some changes and you're working on your final roster right now. I hope we're hoping for a Hail Mary regarding one player, maybe Hail Mary. Everybody go home and say their Catholic prayers. One player maybe being eligible. With him, my God, we were, lights out unstoppable. Without him, we're still incredibly solid to me. And I don't think I'm talking hyperbole here. I think making it to the Final Four is a legit possibility. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, anything's possible on the day. Sevens is a fickle game, a couple bounces of the ball here and there, but the skill level and the poise of this team are top of the charts. We do have role players, but even those role players are just huge contributors. The ability to buy in and not overdo, not overwork, and put us in precarious situations has been phenomenal, right? And that's where the poise comes in. Teams at times can get a little panicky and kind of get loose with the ball at times, chasing a game. We've had some great come from behind wins this summer, and that showed the poise, right? And that showed when things were going a little against you, we didn't panic. Guys were able to continue to play their role, continue to stick to what got us there. Choctaw was probably the first time I saw us have to really dig deep, and we did it that entire day. We picked up a couple of injuries, so we went in limping a little bit. But for me, I've told the guys this before, when we get to a tournament with 13 nominated, we have 13 starters that we're working with on the day. We were able to qualify 15 for nationals, and those 15 to me are 15 starters. Now we have 2 or 3 that bounced in and out, didn't get the requisite number of tournaments under their belt to qualify for nationals. But really, we have a large stable of talented guys.
Well, we're going to pause here like the old wide world of sports. I know Ty remembers, but these young whippersnappers won't know anything about. We're spanning the globe to bring you a constant variety of athletic competition. I want to go to Paris for a second and recognize Mrs. and Mr. Gabby Thomas. Gabby, we're all behind you, and we want your other half, not your better half, to support y'all he can and to check in with us from time to time. And I'm trying to get him on an old cast, but he's so busy supporting Gabby, I don't know if that's going to happen. But thanks for mentioning us on your show. We're going to mention you therefore here on ours. And I'm sure all of Huns Nation is going to be out at the fields watching you win the 200 here in a few days. So go Gabby. Back to the team. Biff brought this up a week ago that you got to be challenged. And I thought it was good that we were challenged a bit down in Houston. so that we had to play from behind. And three things really stuck out at me in that tournament. One is this team's defense, for the most part, is just incredible, especially the hustle defense. Secondly, Austin Willis is just a Swiss Army knife. He seems to do absolutely everything. And, he's a Hun. Huns are always underdogs, punching above their weight. I think if he walked on anywhere, the first spot of a snobby D1 coach or MLR team would be, this guy really doesn't have what it takes to be a player at this level. But you watch him play, you can't take him off the field. That's number two. And the third thing is Russ Webb seems to have a bottomless bag of tricks. What do you think about those 3 points?
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, look, Austin continues to amaze. I jokingly call him the fastest slow man I've ever seen because he can cover the outside against much faster guys because of his play in space. The way he understands space is pretty special, right? Most guys, it's an island out there when you get on the edge, especially playing against a top team. They filter a speedster out there, and they're looking to take advantage of that. And they figure they got a mismatch coming against Austin, but I back him any day. He takes the right lines. He takes the inside away from him, but he also doesn't give him the sideline. So
he's got ball skills. He did something in that Reds game in the second half where he jumped up on the ball going out of bounds on the kickoff, knocked it back in. It gets dinked around like pinball. Now he's diving on the ball, protecting it, putting back. We start a movement. You had just brought in a sub, maybe Caleb. Caleb scores a try. All of a sudden, all the momentum's going our way. And as you know, when the momentum switches at halftime, that can be a real big downhill deal. So I love me some Austin Willis. I think he's making progress as a director of rugby. Tell him we need props in second row. Props in second row because we got 15s coming up. And how deep your front five are for subs is kind of how the end of the game and your season goes. So he knows this, and I'm just pulling his chain right now, reminding him of it. But props in second rows for 15s. Back to sevens, Russ Webb, first of all, I talked to Alex Reese the other day and said, where's your jock strap? And he said, I don't know, because Russ juked him on that last try right into the ground. And he said, I've never seen a guy make conversions more consistently, even doing drop kicks out of the mud. The guy was the difference in two of our matches. And there was a play he did a couple tournaments ago. I'm sure I brought this up to Biff, but he picks the ball up. The defense is there. He tucks it under his arm. He starts retreating. He gets everybody in a line and retreats 20 meters. And then all of a sudden he starts running full speed into the defense and kicks it 70 meters down the field, and he's alone for a try. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that so thoughtfully in a match. And there have been other examples of that throughout the summer, but it seems to me this guy has a bottomless bag of tricks. He's a coach on the field, but he's also a calming influence on the field. Are those three things true?
Absolutely. He's also a coach off the field, right? He says the right things. He reads the game extremely well and knows how to put that into words. His lineage, playing at Cal Berkeley, is probably one of the most structured programs, not only in the country, but, even international programs. It's just really a well thought out structured program. Very structured. You could probably go to international teams and find less structure, right? And then he played Hong Kong as his job for 8 years. So he has a wealth of experience, and he's done well to preserve that in his head. He plays like it, and he obviously coaches like it as well. So on and off the field, he's all
humble. And when I talked to him in the first Oldcast this season, really came off just like one of the guys. We had an incident a couple of years ago where someone said, hey, I'm obviously the best player here. I should be captain, kind of thing. And it didn't go over very well. And I get the exact opposite vibe from Russ. I'm just one of the guys, and and I'm watching from afar. I'm not even around him. You know, I can't wait to meet him in person, but he just seems like he makes everybody around him better.
Bingo. That's where I was. That's in my head. That's what I was going to say. Look, and we have a number of guys like that, to be honest. But Russ exemplifies that, right? His role is to make the guys around him better, and he does that well. He succeeds at that. So it's yeah, it's a huge part of who we are this summer.
Well, you know, you got another Swiss Army knife who's a favor of mine, Ricky Chestnutwood. The guy's a real glue guy, and we've had a bunch of guys either come back or show up for the first time this year that are thumpers, smaller, you know, not the biggest guys from a thumper standpoint. But you got Nick Taylor, you got Daytwan, you got Caleb, I think, and you got Cody.
Kobe, Clayton, and Kobe.
Clayton
yes.
and Kobe.
Got it. Yep.
These four guys really seem to be big additions because I'm a novice. We didn't play sevens much in the 70s and the early 80s. It really seems to me that it's about an equal combination of space and getting across the game line. And you can have all the space and swing the ball side to side all you want, but if you can't crack the game line and pull defenders in, it doesn't really matter. It really seems to me after that first tournament in Dallas, where we struggled a little bit with that, and we also struggled with the high ball that first tournament, that we've really improved in those two areas. Would you agree with that?
I would. You know, it's like you, man. I've been around the game for decades, right? And like all fads, the pendulum swings. Things come into play, and then they get out of favor, and you switch, and then maybe 15 years later they come back in. And one of those is stretching the field versus going straight forward and trying to break that gain line per se versus trying to get teams to chase you around, looking for impatient defenders, that kind of thing, shooters and whatnot. And now the balance of what Russ has brought to this team is, look, we came out of the gate stretching, bouncing off of the edges, right? Being able to stretch defenses, making them chase us, trying to wear them out a little bit. Last year, we didn't have so much those thumpers you mentioned. I'll call them bumpers, thumpers, guys that can go up the middle and really draw in defenders, create some havoc, right? Turn some hips on them and make some commitments, create space on the outside. And Choctaw, we were able to do that a little bit in Lone Star. I thought we did it superbly in Bloodfest, but then when we got to Choctaw, we had a need to go up the middle, right? And we were able to kind of change that a little bit. We stumbled a couple times, went back to the drawing board, I think, at training, implemented some things, and I think now we have more of a balanced attack, being able to bounce off the edges when we have those available to us, but also go up the middle with some downhill runners when we need to.
You got a great Salvador Dali print behind you. Is that symbolic of your coaching philosophy?
No, I just like it because I probably don't understand it.
You know, one of my concerns these days is mercenary rugby versus club rugby. The Huns are a legit club. You know, we really don't spend money on players. We focus as much on youth as we do on adult. We're developing our own fields, and we focus on community culture rugby in that order. And so when we rise as Cream, I'm really, really pleased with that. It makes it special. And we've been doing that more and more in recent years. I was talking, like I said, with Alex, and he thinks that the four super teams this year are Belmont Shore, St. Louis, Denver, and Neck. Now, two of those teams are super teams, Denver and Neck. Two of them are club teams, which I'm actually really happy to see. St. Louis, the current national champ. It would be great to crack the top four. And I'm hoping that at least 2 or 3 of these club teams make it past that threshold just to send a statement. I think it's very important for club rugby to stay the course. What are your thoughts on the point I'm trying to make here?
Yeah, look, Bill, I've dipped my toe on both sides of that fence, and so I feel knowledgeable about the advantages and disadvantages of both, the sustainability of one, i.e., club, and the struggles of a sustainable model with mercenary clubs, kind of. And I one of the things that turns me on about the Huns is the long-term vision, right? The sustainability of the program that's being built, the land, the community, the big tent philosophy, with also a keen vision on competition. You have to compete to make sure you're providing a home for talented players that want to build their game, show their wares, maybe get a look at another level. But you also have to keep the lights on, make sure you're building that community and build your club so that one person leaves or a couple come in, it is sustainable and it does not affect the chemistry of the club. And I think those are the balances of those two philosophies, the mercenaries versus the club build. It's a balance of competition with making sure you're keeping your culture right.
Hansel and Weezy really set the tone after our national championship and then the hiccup after that where we had to rebuild. And it wasn't an easy couple of years. And a bunch of people have stepped up. Dormat, Schneebly, Adam Scheidler.
Yep.
I've tried to help a little bit from afar. And now a lot of these young guys like Willis and Van Diver and Ricky and a ton of others are stepping up. And these are our future club leaders. So it does really seem to be a renaissance right now. And under Hansel's leadership, if you say anything to him, he'll go, it's a team effort. I didn't do nothing. But under his leadership, and I got to see what his leadership looked like when I went to Maggot Fest, because almost all those guys are his guys. He was captain for like 7, 8 years in a row. And he's just a natural leader, and over the time in Huns history, Dave Zach, Kirk Tate, Hansel, I'd like to think that Jerry Acuna and I might be in that category early on. Obviously, Pat Lockridge, the founder. Key people have stepped up, and I can't give Hansel and Weezy enough credit. And Schneebly for translating the foundation that we were all on the board trying to build into competition on the field. Not just in sevens, but in 15s. I mean, we topped the table during the COVID year when nobody had any ringers. Club to club, we topped the table. So I'm really excited about what we're trying to build as an organization and where we're going. And hell, we had a high school team this year. In my wildest dreams, I just watched the All Blacks play in San Diego against Fiji. In my wildest dreams in the 70s, I never thought any of this stuff would be happening. But back to nationals. So I know you're not going to tell me anything, and that's fine, but is your roster set in your head, or do you still have a couple of question marks?
Oh, I definitely think they're question marks. Look, these boys, their job is to not make it easy, and they're succeeding, right? It's again, I go back to having 15 starters to choose from. It's what flavor might work for us that weekend.
So boys, listen up. The message is Tuesday, Thursday this week. There's some of y'all out there that are still playing for your national playoff lives. So go out there, work your ass off, and earn a spot on the team. I think that's the message that he was just very politely trying to say.
I'll add too, Bills. Look, having the depth of that quality second side, we call them tango this season, out every week, Tuesday and Thursday, has been to build, to sharpen that top, 13 or so for any given week. So without that, you're struggling to compete against yourselves. If all you have is That's a little distracting. All you have is 12, 13 guys running out of training. It's a bit harder to put things together, but you have, upper 20s with ball skills and knowledge of the game. It makes it a lot more handy.
I just like this picture, y'all. So I'm going to give a shout out to Harold Hoffman and the Marie Company. And I'm going to remind you that 50% of his OnlyFans page earnings before nationals goes to the Huns club for the road trip. So buy your house from Harold Hoffman and support his OnlyFans page. Um, you know, obviously I'm a big fan now, and guy by the name of Al Garcia got me back on the board. And of course, I tried to say no. I tried to back away because I get so intense with it. It can stress me out at times. But once you're in, you're hooked. And I'm really glad I am. These guys are the fountain of youth for me. What's it been like for you to come back last year as an assistant coach and this year as a head coach for our club and for this group of guys?
Yeah, it's been a learning experience, Bill. You know, um, you step away for a while, and I told the guys this last year, and it's as true this year as it was last year. But the game changes, the terminology changes, the personalities change, and uh, getting to experience it from guys that are coming from other teams, high level teams. Um, we have several that have played at high levels coming in and sharing what they learn and what they know, what they believe in. I think is awesome. There are 100 ways to play the game. You can pick one, and if everybody sticks to that one, you're better than a team with just amazing players that are maybe two are playing this game and two are playing that game, and they're a bit desperate, or disparate rather, in how they're playing the game. So it is interesting to learn some of uh, the new terms and philosophies. Russ has brought a lot in. Nick Taylor is a wealth of knowledge as well. It is just amazing to be a part of. Last year with Zenny, CJ unfortunately had to take off, but CJ was a wealth of knowledge as well. Yeah, it's been exciting. I love it.
So you're drinking the Kool-Aid. I think we're all drinking the Kool-Aid right now. Um, and that's how it should be. I'm really proud of our social members with the guys that have signed up recently. Carl Dahlberg's been sending out emails. Hansel sent out an email. I've been working on it. Longo was working on it. I think we're up to 80 social members right now. That's the most we've ever had. The goal is 100. We appreciate all of y'all's support, and nobody that doesn't love the Huns is going to give $100 to a bunch of rugby guys. I mean, whatever the amount is, we had one $20 donation. That's every bit as important as the big donations, but we're all drinking the Kool-Aid and having a good time. We got a college sophomore or a guy between his sophomore and junior year on the team right now, don't we?
Yeah, I tell you, this is another one of those. I think you're talking about Andreas, Texas A&M boy. It's one of those. He Austin put the team in a little tournament at St. Ed's, maybe April, May, and it was a couple colleges, maybe four colleges around St. Ed's, UT, Texas A&M. Went watched that, and I tell you, kids stuck out. I recognized the coach, Corey Mills, Connor Mills, sorry. Connor Mills from 20 years ago, had him on one of my teams, talked to him for a bit. And this kid, Andreas, was really kind of stood out on their team. Talked to him for a bit, invited him in. Sure enough, he showed up, and boy, he has a nose for the ball. Come to find out, he had played high school through some of our high school teams, I believe. So was familiar with the Huns, but I'm not sure we get that sniff if Austin doesn't do that little thing about, hey, we'll participate and we'll bring some guys in and give you another team to play against. It's one of examples of doing the little things to be sustainable, to be recognizable, to make those connections and develop those relationships.
Well, Biff was saying we got a Lindenwood connection with a couple of guys. It's either Indiana or Illinois. I'm sorry, Case. I'm getting it wrong. I don't mean to insult you, but a couple of guys from there. We got somebody from Cal Poly. You're saying A&M. We had a bunch of guys, if I'm not mistaken, from St. Ed's and such come out that are playing on our 2s and 3s. You know, this is the way you build word of mouth recruiting. And, you know, that's what we want. We want the guys that are not quite MLR level, that are looking for a place to play, to come to us. And, you know, we've had guys step up and help out with rooms, with housing. I heard we just got one of our best prospects for the long term a job, a real job. And we've done that with several people. And I'm talking a long term job. We're trying to help others get long term jobs, career type jobs. I'm told Alex Reese's brother is strongly considering coming and playing for us. Obviously, he's from Austin. His dad and I played together, working on getting him a job. But these are the things that the Huns have stepped up and started to do in the last few years that the Blacks, for example, have done very well with for a long period of time. And again, Austin, props and second rows. We'll need to get bigger rooms and a bigger food allowance. But how do you think that is working for us and getting these college kids engaged and getting the word out there amongst colleges? And you college people tuning in out there, listen up.
Yeah, look, there's I don't think there's just one approach to it, right? It's multi-pronged. One of them is definitely getting some of these like Indiana connection that you cited earlier, Lindenwood, Clayton, Ricky, Arkansas State. We had a connection there. Well, Zinni was there, and look, you start building connections with those campuses, and yes, it pays off. It's fruitful in the end, but you also start competing at nationals on a regular basis. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. You also win Bloodfest against teams like Crewman, FaZe, and those are kind of mercenary teams, guys from coming in other places. Maybe they get interested between this season and next, right? And then you play in nationals, you get to nationals on a consistent basis, like a St. Louis, and guys are more apt to answer the phone or have a conversation about, hey, what's going on in Austin? Any place for me down there, right? And then you have a real opportunity to bring a kid down here and see what they can do.
Well, that's what we're working on. And, you know, this is only Willis's second year as the DOR, and he's a young man. And I know he knew a lot coming from MLR, but,
yeah,
you know, I've been involved on the board for 6 years. And every time I talk to Hansel, I'm still learning something about the TRU and its rules and its policies and procedures and these international documents and shit. I mean, it's incredibly complicated. And you know, I'd give Willis an A. And I think he's still building. You know, I got an earful on a lot of topics from Wheezy at the All Blacks afters. So I learned a lot from him too. Some of it I'm not sure I wanted to know.
Yeah.
But we're lucky to have Wheezy out there building a field, and his level of rugby knowledge is huge also. Like yours, he's been around the game at one level or another, coaching and playing and doing whatever for decades. I mean, we've got plenty of older, I won't quite call Hansel and Wheezy old boys yet, but they're getting there. We got plenty of minds committed to trying to doing this the right way. All right, we've been at this about 35, 36 minutes or so. Anything else you want to say to the guys before this final week of practice, before you pick your team, and before myself and some others fly up to Madison again to join you guys for nationals?
Yeah, look, I would just respond to you know what you were just talking about. And I've shared this. Wheezy and I have talked about it ad nauseum. But look, it's to recognize Robert Drummond you mentioned earlier, right? Robert Drummond, I was around when he was around, just a salt of the earth, awesome player in his day, and continues to give back to the club. A new Drummond might be a Austin Van Diver, right? Those guys just coming into the club, buying some ownership, and as they grow in life, supporting the club. Everyone, for me, puts a brick in the wall, right, to build what we have going on here, and to me, that's the turn on for the Huns, right? That's the sustainability. People buying into this community, this club, and putting their little brick, whatever their certain skill or interest is, putting that brick in the wall. So anyway, Kirk Tate put a huge brick, right? He laid some huge bricks for this club to get off the ground. I could go on, but I'll miss people, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's hard once you start naming names, but I will say this. Other than our founder, you can make arguments and they're legit, but Kirk Tate is in that argument for Mount Rushmore Huns, right up there next to Pat Lockridge. And not just because of what he did on the field and with the culture while he was here, but it is carried over. You know, when I interviewed Wheezy, he called himself a tater.
Yeah.
And he said there's a lot of taters out there, and Schneebly, Hansel, while they were both still around and not as busy with their business and their families, the Wellborns, Drummond.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many taters have been influenced by Kirk. And they're carrying on the legacy that Pat carried on to me. You know, I was at Kirk's first practice. We dragged him to Nasty's after he wanted to quit because he threw a block and got yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of us from that day. And he carried it on and passed it on to so many people. And now we're seeing younger guys pick that up and pass it on. There's a reel on Loud Beers today where Ricky is out there at the field digging mud out of a trench for a gas line on a Sunday morning. And I'm sure he went to one of the tournaments yesterday, I would guess. So he's got to be tired. He's got to be hungover. He's out there with Wheezy on Sunday morning digging mud out of a trench by hand. And Biff posted a caption of #clubman. And I'm going to agree with Biff. The biggest compliment that you can give somebody is that they're a club man. All right, I've enjoyed this. Greenlight Social, everybody. We want you to go there and buy some drinks, thank Drummond, and to every one of our sponsors, all our donors throughout the year, our social members, people that are donating now, thank you. We couldn't be doing all this without you. Any final closing comments?
No, it's been a good season. Looking forward to Madison. Look forward to seeing you up there. Appreciate you doing this and spreading the word and keeping us all connected, Bill.
Well, to me, the Huns are all about brotherhood. This is probably my favorite Huns brotherhood picture. You young guys that are coming out, I got emails and calls over the weekend from guys I met in 1976, and I'm still friends with to this day. They're some of the closest friends I have, quite frankly. And, you know, the Huns really made a positive difference in my life, saved my life, changed my life. And it's an honor to be involved with you guys right now. I can tell Ty and all the other leaders we've mentioned here tonight feel the same way. So great luck at nationals. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. You never know how the ball's going to bounce, but I can't wait to see what happens. And, you know, young men, there's a couple of you that can still make the team this week. Go out and give it everything you got and keep your fingers crossed. Thanks, Ty. Everybody, Huns.
Appreciate you being a club man, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.